Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers and to our first run look at the new ASICS Gel Trabuco 13. This is a lower to the ground trail shoe built to tackle a wide range of terrain. It's had some important updates from the Trabuco 12 and we're in the process of testing whether or not those updates are a success. In the meantime though, here's our initial thoughts after some early test miles. Quick details then, and the Trabuco 13 packs 34mm on the heel, it's got 26mm on the forefoot for an 8mm drop, it weighs in at 10.2 ounces or 289 grams in my men's UK 8.5 or US 9.5. That is slightly lighter than your average trail shoe of this type, and happily a little bit down from the weight of the Trabuco 12. On price, it's £140 in the UK, or it's going to cost you $140 in the US. Moving on to a quick shoe whip round then, and the Trabuco 13 has a Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco Foam midsole. That is the same as you get in the ASICS Metafuji Trail, also the Trabuco Max 4, there's just less of it. It's also the foam that we used to get in ASICS Road Runners like the older gen Nova Blasts, but this foam or version of it is tuned for the trails. There's a more pronounced rocker than we got on the Trabuco 12 with changes to the curvature of the heel to make things a little bit more dynamic, particularly if you're landing further back. Now speaking of heels, you've also got a heel insert here for more cushion and protection. There is a thin rock plate as well to add some protection from the lumps and bumps coming up to this lower stack trailer. Up top you've got mesh uppers that are nicely breathable, there's good flex in them, there is a gusseted tongue that's trimmed down to save a bit of weight, though it's still nicely padded. The heel collars are really quite plush too, really kind of decent cushioning there. The toe box has some internal reinforcement to protect against the rocks and toe stubs. You've got a rigid heel counter that offers a bit of support. There's some other handy details like you've got this heel tab here to yank them on and off when they're muddy. There is a lace holder on the top of the laces here to prevent flapping laces and to keep those laces from coming untied. When you flip them over, you've got a really good covering of ASICS grip for the outsole rubber with 3.5mm lugs in a new lug pattern that's been updated from the Trabuco 12 to improve the grip and the traction.
The fit for me in the Gel Trabuco 13, I'm a size 8 in the UK, this is a size 8. It's quite a roomy shoe actually around the forefoot. It's what you want from a trail shoe. You want a bit of extra space so that your feet can expand a little bit when you're out running, and it definitely does that very well. There's a nice level of space around the midfoot and the forefoot. Loads of space before the big toe, but there's enough. Some people do like to have a bit of extra space, but I found this absolutely fine. I definitely stayed to my UK size 8 in this. I think it's a very comfortable shoe, plenty of space for me, and it's quite a nice bit of wiggle room for me, and I've got fairly average width feet, so definitely found it very comfortable, and I would stay to my UK size 8 in this shoe.
So in testing I ran in a UK 8.5, a US 9.5. I found the fit to be very good in the shoe. You've got an accommodating toe box, you've got good clearance lengthwise, there's good clearance also across the top of the toes. The extra structure here with that toe protection also helps keep the others off your toes. I had no issues getting good midfoot security, good lockdown here. The big padded heel collars held me well enough, but nice and comfortable. The tongues have ample padding to allow for a good lace lockdown. And I think this has all the signs of a shoe that should deliver good fit comfort for long miles cruising the trails, and from what I've seen so far, I would recommend going true to size.
So the first run I did in this shoe was a 5-miler across the common near my house, so it wasn't loads of elevation, it wasn't very rocky, it was basically lots of muddy trails, fields, and a bit of road as well to get there and back. And I very much enjoyed it for that run. What I've experienced on that run, and I know it was that I've not done loads of testing in this shoe, it's just a fairly comfortable first run at a consistent pace for me, which is about 5 minutes 25, 5 minute 30-minute kilometers. Really, really nice. On the road sections, this FF Blast Plus midsole, it's comfy. It does have a nice, not massive wedge of cushioning in it, but it does feel quite comfortable on the road sections, which isn't always the case when you're out running in trail shoes. On the muddy sections, on the fields, it's got a nice balanced midsole, so that what you don't want is a really soft midsole when you're running on soft ground, because you're losing all of the benefits of and you just sort of sink into the ground and you're not really getting anything back. It doesn't do that. It's quite a nice sturdy midsole foam that means that you can pick up the pace nicely. It's a very nippy shoe, and it does feel very good on that softer ground. The drop is noticeable in this, so it's got this 8mm drop in it, and you can feel that when you're out in the run. It feels like a shoe that's designed for picking up the pace. I wasn't running particularly fast on that run, but it does feel like a shoe that is designed for being a bit nippier. If you look at something like the Trabuco Max 4, that's very much designed for pure comfort and cushioning and just getting through the run in a nice, enjoyable way, whereas this is designed to be a bit nippier. It's one of these trail shoes, like the Peregrine range, that sits in the middle nicely of lots of different things that you'd want from a trail shoe. It feels a bit lighter on the feet. The midsole is very much designed for versatility, so it's good across different terrains, but also is designed to allow you to do different paces, because it does feel like you can pick up the pace quite nicely in this shoe. The other thing I'd say about it as well, the outsole is pretty good. It's a fairly competent outsole when you're running on certain levels of ground in the UK. So when you're running across fields, absolutely fine, gripped perfectly. In the mud, I was running through some quite muddy puddles on that run, and boggy areas. It's not really designed for that. It's very much a sort of mid-level outsole that it can handle most stuff, but once you start getting to the really, really muddy, murky stuff, then you're looking at something like an Innovate shoe where it's got much bigger lugs and they're much pointier, so it really grips into that mud. It's not really great for that. I did find myself slipping a little bit in some of the sections, but it's fine for the majority of it. You just probably wouldn't use it if you were running in the winter in the Lake District or something like that. But overall on that run, I thought it was really, really comfortable. Definitely a shoe that sits in the middle of all those different things you want from a trail shoe. It's a great shoe that you can take out and do road to trail in to an extent. I wouldn't do a lot of road in this, but I think it could handle pretty well a good few kilometres on hard road, because that midsole can handle it quite well. So that first run, very much very successful, very much enjoyed it, and pretty much what I expected from the Gel Trabuco range.
Now for this first run, I've done 7.5 miles in the Trabuco 13 as part of a 14.5 miler where I did roughly the first half in the Trabuco Max, bigger cushion, and then I changed shoes into the Trabuco 13, which I'd carried in a pack. I took them for mixed terrain run on some lighter runnable off-roads, got compacted mud, bit of gravel, soft grass, the odd bit of sloppy mud, through a couple of puddles, kind of wet sloppy mud in small sections. I also had a good section of road commute to get there. None of this was particularly steep or technical though, it was all kind of runnable stuff. Now it was really interesting switching from the bigger stack, heavier and more cushioned Trabuco Max into this shoe. I was worried about the more direct ride, particularly for the second half of that run that you might have from the Trabuco 13, that it might be a struggle on tired legs, but I immediately felt the Trabuco 13's comparative lightness and agility. You certainly feel more of the ground coming up, you can more connected with the trail. That lower stack really delivers that kind of ride. It's quite direct, but it's not devoid of cushioning though. Now a lot of trails are deploying bigger, wider stacks underfoot, and I like the fact that the Trabuco remains kind of pretty precise. There's a bit of pop to the ride too. I immediately wanted to run faster in this shoe when I put them on, more so than I'd found in those first 7 odd miles in the Max 4. I felt lighter, more energised, I felt a bit freer underfoot, and based on my first miles in both shoes, I think if I was going shorter, faster on more technical terrain, I'd probably choose this shoe, the Trabuco 13, over the Trabuco Max 4. Now the grip in the drier conditions I ran was excellent, no problem there. Maybe a little sticky for some of the road sections where that combines with the firmness of the midsole more, but it is an okay shoe for the commutes. I think if you're picking your feet with a high turnover, so you're not feeling too much kind of hammering coming up through. First impressions then, and from those initial miles, I like what I saw in the Trabuco 13. I think maybe even more than I did with the Trabuco Max 4, but then I tend to lean towards shoes that maybe sacrifice a bit of cushion for some precision and agility. There's a balance to this Trabuco 13 that sort of treads that line between just enough cushion, just enough ground contact, plenty of control, nice bit of precision. Now I'm not the fastest runner on the trails, but this for me feels like I could use it for faster miles, but also drop back to some easier paces too. Not as comfortable and protective as a Trabuco Max 4, but overall it feels like a good, reliable mid-weight trail shoe that offers good versatility. That said, I really want to push it to a 2 to 3 hours on feet run to find out if it has enough underfoot to handle those longer days on the trail. We'll do more of that in the main review when that lands. But so far, I think the Trabuco 13 has all the hallmarks of a much improved, versatile trail shoe at what looks to be a happily comparative and competitive price.
So my early verdict on the ASICS Gel Trabuco 13, I think it's not a surprising shoe. I haven't tried the previous version of this, but I did expect it to be like this. It's similar to something like the Peregrine. It's that sort of mid-level trail shoe that gives you the ability to do quite a lot of things. It's quite versatile, it's comfortable, it's got enough cushioning to do a nice and easy run on it. You can go on roads, all those sorts of things. It's a very balanced trail shoe that ticks a lot of boxes. And really, there's not really any downsides to the shoe. It sort of ticks off everything that I want from a shoe. The only thing that I would flag is just the outsole's not great for really boggy mud, but a lot of people wouldn't think about using that for those sorts of trails anyway. So yeah, successful first run. Definitely going to be using it a lot more over the coming weeks as I hit the trails more as it gets a bit warmer.
So that's been our first run look at the new ASICS Gel Trabuco 13. Hope it's been insightful. Give us a like if so. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we'd absolutely love it if you do us that honour. If you're in the market for a good trail shoe, I'm going to pop 2 vids up on the screen somewhere about now that you should go and watch. Otherwise, thanks as ever for stopping by, and until next time, happy running, people.